stand tall. Words of blades that never fall. Debating warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. In the ring we stand tall. Words of blades that never fall. Debate like warriors brave. Every thought we give and save. Through the noise we cut clean. Spirited, mind sharp and keen. With a spark that lights the night. Join us in this epic fight. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts clean. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena, there's no chance to escape the fight by law. Dive in deep and search for more. From heartfelt talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome talks to fierce debates, we explore what fate creates. Side by side we seek the light. In the dark our minds ignite. Welcome to the Spartan Arena, where minds clash and thoughts clean. In the heat of every word, truth and insight will be heard. Buckle up and take your stance. In this arena, there's no chance to escape the fight by law. Dive in deep and search for more.
Welcome to the spot. It's time to ignite. Oh yeah. Operation Hangout. The feeling's just right. Chilling with the crew. We're ready to groove. Opinions flying high. Come on, let's move. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy, don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Pull up a chair, let's get in the zone. Voices blending smooth like a funky trombone. Oh yeah. Topics from the heart, making us think. With a twist and a shout, raise up your drink. Cheers! Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy, don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Bring it down, shake it up, feel the beat. With every word we share, the circle's complete. Living loud, think it proud, that's what we do. Oh yeah. Join the club, come on through, we're waiting for you. Alright. Hang out all night long, all night. Laughing and debating, playing our song. Oh yeah. Share your thoughts, don't be shy, don't be shy. Operation Hangout, let's reach for the sky. Let's fly. Hang out.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Next Gen Training. I am Mr. Bennett, joined by my partner, as always, Coach Ferg, aka We are giving the bald wisdom in this spaces here on the Sparta HQ Network. Make sure that you hit the like button, when you come in, and make sure you, if you're not a subscriber to the network, please consider subscribing. We're very close to getting monetized, and we just need a few more in the kitty, and so really make some positive things happen. But certainly, we appreciate you guys joining us once again on this Independence Day Eve, or should I say Independence for some. It took us about another 87 years before we got ours. But that being said, it is still certainly a national day of recognition, certainly for the United States. And, so certainly I was just hearing in the background just before we logged on, the fireworks shows were concluding tonight. But again, good to have you guys with us. How are you doing tonight, Coach? What's going on?
What's up, brother Benny, man? How you doing? My sound okay?
Yeah, you good? You good?
Okay, man. So yeah, man. Just I don't know, man. I feel indifferent today. I
Indifferent. Okay. Well, go through your pie list.
yeah. So
Maybe we can make some difference. So go through your pies, and where's this indifference coming from? Maybe we can isolate, identify, and then neutralize it.
yeah. So I'll probably be all over the place though, but I got a lot of things going on at the same time. Some good things. Nothing is bad, but it's everything from me physically, my body. You know what I'm saying? To some some issues with the home, with finances. Everything is sort of happening at the same time. So
Mhm.
I was a little excited earlier. Now I'm just like, okay, well, I'm hearing it now. So just stay focused on achieving each goal. So yeah, I don't know. I think everything's going to turn out favorable. Like I said, it's
Mhm.
just my body. I'm getting some tests done.
Okay.
Um, my house, my taxes that for the year, being reassessed, looking to make some purchase. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff, man. So, yeah, so, physically, I don't know, man. I'm getting tested for arthritis now in my
Mm.
joints and stuff. So that's a thing right there. Intellectually, I'm just, I don't know, just really just trying to find my place in just having peace. Really, that's where I'm at. Spiritually, I'm connected to my family, my wife. I connect to this space right here whenever we pull up. So it's a good leveling tool for me to just sort of just talk about man, life, being better. You know, so salute, man.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, my pies is going pretty well physically. Again, still healing the right lat here. So, but gradually adding weight every week, adding another 10 pounds or whatnot, and just taking it slow and easy, and just not pushing it, but strong pretty much everywhere else. So I actually did. If you check out the last Sparta show, because I wasn't sure I was going to be on, and the early part of the night, I was dealing with a lot of stuff with the women, so I got a late start on my workout. So I actually worked out during the show, and I also tested. I had a remote a microphone, and
I
so I
saw
wanted
that.
to test that as well. So I'm doing squats. So I still put 240 for 5 reps on the squat rack, and I do squats at the end of my workout now, and not the beginning, because I just don't need all that load on my back. But I still want to fry the leg, so I use it as a finisher now versus just loading up a bunch of weight and trying to to push through all that. So
Right.
240 for 5, and then had a pretty decent workout. Looking forward to certainly working out this weekend. Physically feeling pretty good. Certainly intellectually, again, always challenge myself, always new working just with work, certainly new challenges, being a problem solver. I think it's certainly something that's certainly benefiting me, and I'm going to be putting that to test over the next couple few weeks. So I'm going to be doing some traveling. I got to go all the way down to Georgia for work, and it's going to be in the middle of the state, in the middle of nowhere, they're saying, but I work in some warehousing. So have to do some work there. So looking forward to, slowly growing in this new space, these automated warehouses, and working with the technology there. So looking forward to that. Emotionally, as good, I had to be good this week. I can't tell you enough. When you got 4 women in the house, um, you got to be the thermostat. Otherwise, it just goes apart. But everybody was in their feelings this week. Everybody. And so I'm just trying to be the calming voice. Shout out to Catellia in the building tonight. Leg's my favorite too. Appreciate you. Catellia, thanks for joining. But yeah, that is so I really had to stay, very very deadpan, very, just monitor my emotions of the situation because everybody was all over the place. So that's what we're called to do as men. And certainly I was glad I was able to do some of that this week. And then again, spiritually, my place is good. And again, I think that some of the principles that we're going to be talking about tonight is allowing me to handle things the way I handle them. So again, but we're going to talk about habits tonight,
For
and
sure.
certainly having those good habits certainly is going to help you in all these areas. So it's interesting. This topic tonight is going to almost kind of
Mhm.
mirror or parallel some of the things in the pies that we talk about physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and intellectually.
Okay.
Things that'll certainly help out. Now, don't brag, Catellia. Catellia she's got that mesomorph body. All right, don't brag about it. I'm a
Mhm.
classic ectomorph. I was a beanpole, Jimmy JJ Walker growing up or whatnot. I had no body whatsoever. So again, you one of them naturals that you just
Yeah.
breathe. I think,
She
Coach, you
like
like
me.
that too. You just breathe and you
She
just
like
muscles
me.
just come on you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't stand you mesomorphs. You guys got the easy way out.
Well,
So
this picture behind me, brother Ben, that was my 12-year-old picture right there. I was like 145, 150.
yeah, yeah.
That time.
So shout out to my man Eric in the building tonight, eating dinner's room while dinner party goes on above my head. I guess he doesn't want to be part of the party, part of the festivities that are going on. He's just kind of hanging out in his man cave. But good that you're with us tonight here. But yeah, man, certainly just getting ready for travel. And actually, like I said, we booked also for
All right.
September.
That's
Booked.
cool.
So again, we're going to Grenada. My daughter leaves in August, but we'll be going down to vacation in Grenada as well as go to be there for her white coat ceremony. That's in later September. So I'll be on the road, and so
That's
look
pretty
forward to some
good,
things
man.
there. Yeah, man, a lot of
That's
things are
pretty good,
happening,
man.
but
So I
even
know you proud, man. Let's stop, take a moment. I know you proud, man. Come on now.
you know what?
Come on, man.
I'm
Come
like
on.
no, I'm like a coach. I'm honestly, it's like I'll be proud when she walks across with the degree.
At the
I
end.
with at the end. I'm
All right.
it's like we still in the game. It's like you in a
Right.
tournament, right?
You're in
And
the
you the
second
coach. It's
half.
like, yeah, the team won, and you'd be like, all right, nice game. I'll see you guys Monday, 3 o'clock for practice.
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
you got to prepare for the next game. So for me, it's like, there's just a lot of transition and a lot of things. There's a lot of logistics that has to be handled in a relatively short period of time.
Okay.
And we just got to make sure that she's square and that she's in. She'll have a month before we go down there. And so just make sure that she's got everything that she needs in order to be successful. So that's my thing. My thing is,
Okay.
as long as those logistics are taken care of, now it's up to you. Now I can take a break a little bit. But
Right.
as long as I'm going to be involved, then it's going to be like, I'm going to be, cautiously optimistic. I would say that.
Right.
Now I'll leave the
Okay.
proud stuff until it's
Okay.
over. When it's
Yeah, I
done,
got you.
then we'll celebrate. So
No, that's real,
so
man. Hey, before we get into the topic, I do want to ask you a question about the pies, right? Really
mhm.
quick. So, since you've been introduced to it, what do you think about pies in a sense?
Well, I
The whole
think
concept of it.
what it does, at least what I've seen, how it can be useful is because again, I said I dealt with a lot of emotional issues this week with the ladies in my life.
So you
And
saying
a
you
lot of
apply
time,
it to your life?
not only to that, but also I can also see how it could help them because, when all the emotions are scrambled, things get out of whack and you put too much attention on
Hmm.
one aspect of the pie over the other, you're out of balance. If
Hmm.
you're so much in your emotions that you start to neglect your physical health, if
Hmm.
you're so much into your emotions that you start to neglect your your spiritual health and well-being. So any one of those things can be compromised when you focus too much on one thing, and the emotional piece seems to be the one that can get everything else off of whack.
Yeah.
And so, so certainly, I think it's a good tool because it helps people to kind of compartmentalize and say, well, because women will say, "Oh, my life is a disaster." It's like, whoa, wait a minute. First of all, your life's not a disaster. Not everything is ruined. Not everything sucks. Let's just break this down one by one, and let's just get down to what the issue is.
Yeah.
You're having an issue in, let's say, one section of this pie chart, and let's narrow down even further to get to the real where the source is and deal with that. Instead of thinking because one thing goes wrong, you just lose it, like, all over. So that's the thing that I can certainly see it being useful. But again, even then, you still, I think, have to be in a proper mental space in order to participate. Because if you're so over the top with the emotions and whatnot, you don't want to put that time in to really think and reason. And sometimes they get tired of me. It's like, Dad, you're just trying to you're just going to try to resolve it or fix it or whatever. And it's like, so it's like when you're ready, then we can talk. But I have to also be mindful not to get trapped in the quicksand and go down that emotional quicksand with them as well. So I got to keep a level head, especially when these parties are warring against each other. Mom against kids or siblings against siblings and whatnot. I gotta be the referee in all of that. So staying above the fray as much as possible. So certainly it's a high level of empathy, but I can't sympathize with the situation. I just got to deal with the real and how we're going to resolve this. So that's kind of where that is. So yeah, so it can be an effective tool, but again, if you're not in a proper space to receive, just like anything else. I mean, all the shows that we've done up to this point, this is our 7th show. Everything that we've been sharing in this space, again, it's just our opinions. Again, this is two bald opinions here. And so you can certainly take it or leave it. But like anything else, if you're not ready to receive it, then it's not going to be of any benefit to you. So that's why, I would certainly recommend if you're coming into this with a bad space or whatever, maybe take some time, go back through the playlist and watch some of the shows and see, if there's something that you can glean from it. But it's like what they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so we're just giving some life lessons based on our lives. We've got over 100 years of experience here. And hopefully, at some point it'll click. And at some point it'll be like, I get what those guys were saying, or I get what my parents were trying to say. Because when, if you got good people in your life, we're not going to give you anything new. We just telling you certainly that's something that's always there, but hopefully you're hearing it from a different perspective for some guys who, aren't so emotionally involved in the situation. We can just speak the truth and then then let the truth lay where it lays. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, certainly looking forward to this topic tonight. So again, the topic, we want to bring up the slides. P, if you're in the back, you can bring up the slides we're going to be sharing, the slide deck. Paniotis, are you there? There you go. All right. See, when I speak Greek to him, then he pays attention. All right. So 30 habits. 30 habits for happiness. Now, this is, again, just reflecting back on what I had to deal with this week. Because, again, a lot of people think that happiness is just something that just comes, you just kind of live in and whatnot. You got to work for happiness. I mean, it's not something that, you can just, and it's not always about doing the things that necessarily feel good in the moment. Like I said, I again, just as I did on Tuesday's show, I compare a lot of this to exercise. Exercise may not feel good in the moment while you're doing it, but if you develop the right habits over time, it becomes part of your life and you reap benefits from it. Well, happiness is the same way. And a lot of people try to get happiness in one night or from one event, but you have to constantly apply yourself in certain ways to get outcomes that last and not things that's going to be here today and gone tomorrow. What good is it if you went to a party and you had a good time, but you got smashed up? You don't even remember what happened last night. So again, a lot of people are searching for happiness, but they treat happiness as if it's for a minute. So we're talking about the sort of habits that last for a lifetime and certainly yield fruit over a lifetime. So, just coach, what's your just your general thoughts on habits and happiness? It seems like almost sounds a little contradictory. As like habits could be a killjoy to have because especially a lot of these freewheeling people say wee. Let's just to be happy, but happiness also takes some discipline, in my view. So, but what's your thoughts on that?
Man, 30 habits for happiness. I never thought about that there could possibly be a number to it as far as happiness. So when I saw the title 30 habits, I'm like, oh, that would be interesting because I never put a number on the type of happiness that I like or would want or something like that. How many times throughout the day, you know what I'm saying, and how many times people make me happy. I never counted in the possible ways. Yeah, I think, it definitely takes, I think you said the word, some discipline in a sense to create habits for happiness. I think initially it would take some discipline, but then over time, if you've sort of stayed the course, I think it would be second nature to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be able
Yeah.
to make those important decisions that will help you avoid situations to make you unhappy, especially emotionally. I think it comes down to a lot of the emotional component when it comes to happiness and other people's happiness, especially when you don't have. I think it's more so when you're younger, you don't have a lot of control over some of your happiness as it pertains to people. Individually, that's where it gets a little wonky for somebody young because they don't know how to still find goodness in themselves in those tragic or traumatizing situations that they're in, but they don't really understand when they're in it. So, and I think it's continued levels of this too. Happiness when I was a kid was if I could go swimming all day, if I could get to the 12 o'clock movie on a Saturday, if I got to see Speed Racer and the Thundercats, I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
As a team, I was in playing football. I wanted to be a best football on the team. I wanted to get recognition for scoring touchdowns and tackling. I did that. And then, I went to the service. I was just trying to be a good soldier. I got an award coming out of AIT. You have your basic training where everybody's just learning how to be a soldier. Then your AIT, Army Intensive Training, that's where you go to your specifics of your schooling, what the job you're going to do. So I got an award coming out of that. And the unit I was picked to go to was a sort of a special unit, but it was small. And when I was telling people that's where I was coming to, they're like, oh, you got lucky. But when I got to the unit, it allowed me to just choose my path in a sense, and everything was on path to do the right thing. And then I got hurt in an exercise. So I had to get out. And when I got out, it gave me the understanding like I need to go back to school. I need to finish what I started with that. And I didn't things I've done, I didn't really talk to too many people about what I was going to do, seek advice on anything that came for me to learn something, I do something better. I didn't take nobody's advice. I just went in it. I'm like, yes, I want to do it. I want to learn how to do it. So, but then when I started working with people who may have not had that confidence or security about themselves, to love themselves, to make life-changing decisions without others' influence, I was able to sort of navigate that because I understood it sort of for myself, even with what I saw my father going through with his substance abuse issues when he was drinking a lot, and he still was giving me information about be respectful, make sure people respect you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go to school, learn. He was a big component. Have no behavior. So I took all of that, man, and just started to sort of manipulate my happiness in a sense. I never let other people influence my behavior and my decisions to do something, whether it was
Right.
good or bad. You know, if I saw people doing something bad, I would just stop hanging around. And
Right.
if you thought you was gonna talk to me crazy every day, that would have been a big problem. And as I got to be a young man and being out into the world, I never had problems with people a lot. I've been able to connect with some people most people wouldn't be able to connect to, especially when I'm working in the field. I saw the changes just by allowing and people to understand their happiness. And sometimes when it come down to happiness, this is my last point, you got to go take that shit. That's the point that I love to see. When they go take it, then they can navigate the 30 steps for happiness, man. So yeah, for salute.
Gotcha. So what I wanted to do was, because obviously you have so many points here, if we went through all 30 and gave attention to each one, we'd be here all night. And
Yeah,
so I
let's
didn't
break it
necessarily
down,
want to
man.
do that. So what I decided to do was I decided to group them because I saw a pattern. So I decided to group these into certain types of habits that will add up to the 30 over time, but maybe we can talk about them more high level than going so deep into each one. Or we might want to focus on one in the grouping, depending on if we have a point of view on it. But
Right.
again, just not to slow the show down. Decided to break these up a little bit. So let's get into the first grouping of habits for happiness. Again, you can't happiness just not going to happen. You have to be an active participant in it. So let's talk about the first habit so we talk about here health habits. All right. So again, one of those being again exercise, as my man Eric talked about earlier. Developing a steady exercise regimen for yourself, and that should involve, from my point of view, it should always involve a certain level of strength training, and then a certain level of conditioning. Again, based on the activities that you enjoy doing, but keeping the body strong, especially for older folks out there. Once you turn 40 plus, I put a heavy emphasis on strength training because, again, keeping your bones strong, hip healthy, hip function. I think those are important things that a lot of people start to neglect as they get older. So exercising well, eating well, does a lot. Again, a lot of people, you may not want those vegetables and whatnot, but P in the back, if you could move us up a little bit so we don't block the pad, if you can move us up like center page, I'm not sure if you have a facility to do that, but I'll try to explain what we can't see
Yeah.
if possible. But again, eating well, having a good diet, is certainly something that's important. Drinking lots of water, keep the body flushed out. Having a healthy sleeping pattern. Now, I admit sometimes I have problems with this one. And then again, exercising, again, self-discipline, as Coach had led into this with. It takes discipline to do these things. And you may think that discipline is not fun or discipline doesn't make you happy, but also in the long run, certainly, certainly it can lead to your happiness overall. But it's almost like a pay now or pay later kind of deal. All that fun you think you can get, the things you can get away with in your teens and your 20s and even up to your 30s, once you get a little bit older, you start realizing you can't do things the way you used to do. And so these things will catch up to you. So, but it's good if you start early. Now, again, eating well doesn't mean you're eating boiled chicken breasts and broccoli all the time. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that. And again, exercise, you don't have to squat 500 pounds or bench 500 pounds. But certainly, again, a nice blend. And again, sleep, again, that's going to vary for every person. But certainly, if you could, for me, like, what's the sweet spot for you, Coach, in terms of sleep? How much sleep that when you're saying you're good, not what you actually get, because I still struggle with that now. How much sleep do you need to be like, okay, I'm good with this? But you can function on less. But you realize if you do that for a while, it may catch up to you. So what's that sweet spot of sleep for you?
Well, Brother Bennett, I'm a little spoiled now, man.
Yeah.
It used to be about 7 hours, 8, now it's 8, 9, because sometimes I'm up. I'm up and down sometimes. You know, my schedule's a little. I have a 24-hour day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes my days are my nights, and my nights are my days. So some days, you know, I just, now that I'm in a retired space, you know, I'm not confined by a certain amount of hours at one time. I may get up, be up 3 or 4 hours, and go back to sleep for another 3 or 4 hours. And
Right.
then I may get up and, like you might see me on YouTube then, even sometimes I might be working on my little basement, you know, just 2 or 3 hours gone by that.
Mhm.
You know, my wife works from home, so, and she gets her workout in. She's sort of early morning, right after work, you know, and 9, 10 o'clock, she's in bed by 9:30 on a 10 o'clock.
Right.
And, you know, we can still do a lot with each other within that time at work and me waking up and going back to sleep. So yeah, we eat we cook, she cooks every day.
Yeah.
I would say 4 to 5 days a week, because sometimes it's enough for the next day,
Yeah.
you know, and I definitely loves me some good leftovers, you know, so I drink water pretty much. I wake up thinking about getting me a nice cold water. I keep cases of water. I have a filtered, you know, refrigerator, which is
Same here. Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always into water. Sleep, let me see, exercise. Now see, that's where I probably done fell off, right?
Hmm.
Because my body is different. You know, I still have some strength. My fingers, I fell at the VA hospital and I can't spread them like
Oh,
I
really?
can.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like I can my
Mhm.
right hand, and I'm
Mhm.
left-handed.
Mhm.
And that was my dominant. You know, I still, so it's some things. That's why I'm saying I'm getting some tests run to my blood work, and they told me what I possibly may have, because they took about 8 vials of this of blood. So, and that was just what, 2 weeks ago. So,
Right.
yeah, man. So yeah, and I don't know what to do as far as my exercise. I got all kinds of medical devices through the VA, man, that they give me, because I've had acupuncture twice, 2 or 3 times, maybe 3. I've had electronic probes stuck in my back, needles this long.
Ooh, yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had all of my joints shocked. I've countless MRIs, X-rays, hearing tests. I've had everything, man. You know, the big one everybody's afraid of,
Yeah.
but I was pretty good with that. You know what I'm saying? And I keep my weight down. Like I said, I'm about 235, but I'm gonna have a whole body on me, because I check it out every day.
Yeah.
You know, and every
So the doctors don't get on you about your weight, because I mean, if we look at the BM, because I'm 235, but I'm 6'3".
yeah,
But you know, so both of us are technically, we're over the BMI chart.
yeah,
You know, so your
definitely.
doctors never came to you about, look, you need to, you know, you get around 200. They never came to you with
Now
that.
200. If I got the 200, that'd be my military. That'd be my best size. I was always around 200. Even like I said, I graduated high school at 190.
Mhm.
But it was, you know what I'm saying, I ain't had no stomach. Even now,
Mhm.
I ain't really. My calves are bigger than my neck almost. I was
Yeah.
okay. So this is just my forearm. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
I'm
pop
built a little
got
funny.
them Popeye forearms,
Yeah,
and them cannonball calves. Could probably
can't
jump out the
show my
gym.
chest all the time, but you
No,
know,
don't show the chest off.
no, but you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was just had that funny built, you know, I built like me and Sway Cohen Barley standing side by side. We, you know, but he's a lot bigger because he's younger and playing football, but I was about that type of guy. But
Yeah. You probably could
I
have been a
don't,
body if you want to. You probably could have been a bodybuilder if you put your mind to it.
if I'd have put my mind to it, you're right. But I like weights, but once I got to 300, 305 benching, I was like, okay, cool. But you know, I just didn't. I've always stayed in good shape because I like basketball, brother Ben. I used to run basketball every day, man,
Mhm.
and especially when I was in the service, I played ball. When I got out, when I was in school, I used to go to the gym every day, and I've always been into basketball. They don't play basketball like they used to, but that always kept me in good shape. But I've
Yeah.
always been a 200-pound, 205, 220. You know.
Yeah. Now, Kateria just asked a question of you. Have you gotten your vitamin levels checked, like your vitamin D3 levels, K2,
Yes. Matter of
whatnot?
fact,
Yeah.
yes, because I got some vitamins D3s that I take.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But it should be part of your panel. So certainly, again, as you get older, for sure,
Yes.
when you go for your annual physical, which you should every year go for your annual physical, but some things aren't necessarily part of the panel, the basic
Mhm.
panel that your doctor may run. So you might want to ask to get your vitamin levels checked. Just an additional test.
Yes.
They're going to take the same blood, the 2 vials of blood that they get from you. It's going to be in the same test, but you got to order certain things.
Yes.
And so make sure your vitamin levels are checked. Especially for
Yes.
men, your testosterone free and total. Just certain things you want to just make sure are good. In addition to things like your liver function and your cholesterol level, and some of those base things that the doctor may call for. But one thing also could tell you said about make sure you take your supplements. I look at supplements more so in the eating well category. I
Mhm.
think a lot of things, if you can get what you need from your food, I think that's good. I think certain vitamins and whatnot taken in addition to that can certainly help make up a difference, especially if your diet is lacking. But like
Mhm.
for example, I'm a big believer in, like, so I take multivitamin, I take D3 and K2. I
Mhm.
take turmeric, I take garlic, I take omega 3s. But again, if I eat healthy fish, if I healthy amount of fish in my diet, I'm going to get a lot of that as well. So just make sure that if your diet is compromised, and certainly supplements can help fill the gaps. But at the same time, I wouldn't encourage anybody to certainly live on supplements. Make sure you can't out supplement a bad diet. So if your diet's crappy, just taking a vitamin or whatever is not going to cure that. So
Mhm.
again, like I said, that self discipline to turn away from the thing. So you can eat all them donuts and whatnot, but if you think, oh, I'll just take my multivitamin, I'll be good. No, they don't cancel each other out. So make sure you have proper habits, and then again, supplements, they can be a nice bridge to give you some additional more, or like I said, just vitamin D. I mean, just spending 15 minutes out in the sun, typically will give you a day's worth of vitamin D if you're out there. But if you're indoors, if you work like an office corporate job like I do, so so certainly, and in the wintertime, because again, we don't get as much sunlight in the wintertime, then yeah, having a supplement vitamin D product can certainly can be useful. And but as far as my big thing is the sleep, I average about 5 or 6 a night. And again, it gets to a point where that may catch up to me over time. And I mean, you get, but seven is a good sweet spot. 7.5. If I get more than 8, then it's almost like the reverse. I get very lethargic. If I get more than 8 hours of sleep, it's almost like I can't wake up, or I get tired like in the middle of the day. So too much sleep is can certainly affect me in certain ways. So I'd say a 7.5. That's the sweet spot for me. So I strive to get that, but more times than not, it's like between 5 and 6. So I need to get better at that as well. But certainly, these habits, if you start to employ them, you'll certainly start to feel better about yourself. Watching your weight, having again the proper sleep, keeping your stress levels down, keeping your cortisol levels down. That'll give a lot of benefits. So again, when you feel good about yourself physically, then you start to feel better about yourself in other aspects, mentally, and all those other aspects of your life when you start to prioritize these things. But again, it definitely takes a certain amount of discipline to do so. But the next category here, okay, so we got health habits, emotional habits. So again, so we talk about in that pies chart, we talk about that E part, and a lot of it really is about what's going on in your mind. And so you have to have the proper mindset. It says your multivitamin should contain the appropriate milligrams or micrograms. Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely, yes. So again, loving yourself. I mean, these things seem to be academic,
Mhm.
but you see in a lot of people, and I'm sure the young people that you work with over time, and even some of the adults that I talk to sometimes, you just hear how they talk. And a lot of it is they're carrying a lot of emotional baggage, either from their childhood, or just things didn't go right in their lives or what have you, or they think that things in their lives are so messed up. So again, loving yourself, believing in yourself, forgiving yourself, right? Thinking positively, putting your needs first, and select friends that lift you up. I mean, what community are you wrapping yourself in? I think all these things are important to build up self. How can you deal with other people? I mean, even the Bible says you need to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But the problem is a lot of people aren't loving themselves. And that's also going to manifest itself in some of the habits. So again, as we led off the show with, if your emotions are all over the place, it's going to be very difficult to put in place those health habits, because some people are stress eaters, emotional eaters. You start to eat the wrong thing when your thoughts are wrong, and you start putting all kinds of things in your body: food, alcohol, drugs, all kinds of bad substances in your body. But again, it starts with you have to put that work in terms of loving yourself. And now some of that, now again, if you're a person of faith, I think it starts with understanding who created you. If you don't have a faith, if you think humanity is the highest life form there is, then fine, put your faith in that. But again, it starts with you have to start out with that high value. Now, either someone imparts that into you, or like I said, through a religious belief or something that teaches you that. But if you don't have those things in place, then I see a lot of people doing a lot of self-destructive things to themselves. And it starts with, again, what you think, how you think it, and how you think of yourself. And even the point of number 5, which again, I've been guilty of, Coach. I know you probably been guilty of this sometimes too. Sometimes, again, you want to help so many people that sometimes we think it's selfish to put yourself first. But again, if you don't have those portions of your life that you take control of, you're going to spread yourself too thin, and you're not going to be available to those who really need you over the long haul. You may do it for a time, but I see a lot of people get burnt out because everyone's needs comes first except theirs. And they get stressed out. I've seen marriages break up over this. I've seen, a lot of strain. People serve in the church or just do all kinds of things. But if you feel like you're doing 80% of the work, then it's just like, people just quit. Because again, they don't know when to say no. And saying no is a good thing. Don't overburden yourself thinking you got to take on the whole world. And a lot of people think that if something's got to be done, I got to do it all by myself. And I'm saying that because this is how I used to think. So again, having that, keeping that space for yourself is very important. That's why I tell my wife, look, if you need to go out and you need to do something for yourself, go ahead and do it. Go exercise, go take a trip, go whatever you got to do to make sure you stay whole and you stay sane so you can be available to those who need you. Go ahead and do what you want to do. But if you're overworked, overstressed, and start just doing self-destructive things, you're not going to be good to anybody. So, Coach, so what just on this this list is the biggest list in the slide deck. But what's your thoughts on these? Any one of these kind of sticks out? 5 really stuck out to me because I've seen people who serve, always serving, never getting served, and they just fizzle out. They just burn up.
It's interesting in how it relates to me, right? Because that's how I've been all my life. When it comes to my peers, I've always put myself first. I've always had self-love because my peers used to be the one that make fun of me based off my complexion. And I sort of used it to motivate myself in a sense. I wasn't like, you kids, and I'm talking all through high school. I grew up, man, our friends, we used to talk about each other all day, right? So when it happened young, I used it as motivation. I used to talk to myself about it. What they talk about? I ain't ugly. I'm handsome. And then I played sports on top of it. And I wanted to be the best. And those same people, and even in my life, like young kids, young guys in the neighborhood, I used to help them. A lot of because I had younger brothers and sisters. So a little, 2 or 3 years younger than me, they was like a little kid to me. even as a young teenager, I remember all the time, man, showing the little kids how to throw the football and teach them how to play, pick up football, and I'll be the quarterback for them, and you know what I'm saying. I used to train dudes on the basketball court, and give them little pointers on the moves, and next thing you know, they coming back like, man, that worked. So I've always had a high love for myself, though, but I use the selecting friends part, because the ones that sort of tried to just be a bully with it, I stood up to it on that immediately, but I disassociated myself with those type of people.
Yeah.
Once somebody, because I was a friendly kid, I go up, want to play, want to get to know you, especially through elementary. But if I saw anything where somebody was going to be sort of mean, I would address it, and then I dismiss from it, because I went to elementary schools where it's predominantly white. And the little white kids, they never really came to me like, hey, nigger. I didn't get those type of pushes. But I was able to communicate and get along with the boys and the girls, you know what I'm saying? And nobody really did anything appropriate to me. I had one incident as a kid, but I slapped the shit out of that person as a 12-year-old. I remember that. But as far as the people that look like me, I've applied all these things to myself. I've always loved myself, believed myself. Even when I've done stupid stuff, I've always talked it out in my head and forgave myself. I always believe in something positive is going to happen, even of a bad situation. I always believe bad situations are temporary, because I got to wake up tomorrow. So if I wake up tomorrow, my day probably be 10 times better than it was today. I didn't linger on the past as far as things that didn't go my way. Maybe it wasn't my time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I graduated college in 2001. After I done been to college, dropped out, went to the service, got out. Now I'm like, oh, let me go and finish what I needed to do. And that put me in a position to just always be just in the game, like you said earlier. It kept me in the game with the military and the college, you know what I'm saying, and finishing college up again at DeVry in 2023. So I've always sort of try to level, and I have no height of where I would want to go. So I can go into the end, or I can just be on cruise control. As long as I'm moving, I'm okay. So
Yeah. And the last point I just wanted to bring up was, again, the thinking positively part. I mean, and I'm not saying, like some metaphysical stuff, because I know you got like books like The Secret, and they talk about this manifesting kind of thing or whatever. That's not what I'm certainly I would refer to. But I think you do have to watch the things you say, because we can be our own worst critics.
yes,
You know what I'm saying? So we can say, oh, you're so stupid. Oh, you this, you that, or whatever. It's like, what is that constant thing in your mind that you're always feeding yourself about yourself? And that's something I think you need to check, because all that negative self talk can certainly reinforce itself. So I'm not saying I'm going to think about having $1 million, but certainly again, having thinking again positively, positive outcomes. Worst case, if I try this thing, it doesn't work, at least I learned something. Putting something in a proper perspective, which is going to be on another slide, but thinking that, certainly for the experience itself, you benefited from it, but always thinking, oh, well, this will never work. Like, and that's something my wife used to drive me crazy with all the time. Cause like, she'd be the worst to ask for something. It's like, even again, the scripture says you don't have because you never asked. And I'm always saying the worst thing they can say is no. But you just don't want to put yourself out there to be rejected. And so you think, oh, it won't work, or they'll probably say no, or that this will happen, or whatever. I say, just make the call. And yeah, they may say no, but get in the habit of at least making a positive attempt. But it bugs me when people who just won't even try. And again, a lot of that trying is because of the negative self-talk, or the negative history. And it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when you're constantly thinking the worst possible outcome rather than trying for another one. And I think that applies in so many aspects of your life. Like I said, when I was looking for a wife, like I said, I was willing to go through 99. I didn't have to talk to 99, but I was willing to do so. The worst thing I could do is when I went out on a date with somebody, the worst thing would happen was I knew who I didn't want, or I know it won't be you. So you go to the next one. So again, but was I confident that I was going to meet somebody? Yeah. And also, so all these things, these emotional things, put positive things into action. But a lot of these things have to be here. And we're not saying you got to be 10 out of 10 on all these things, but certainly how you think is oftentimes reinforced by that core belief. Do you love yourself? And do you believe in yourself? And if you have done some things in the past, can you forgive yourself so you can go and start over? And I think as long as you're willing to start over, then all these other things can work out if you don't give up on yourself as you're going through these things. But Coach, anything on that before I move to the next one? You follow up?
Nah, man, you summed it up, man. I think, just listening to your perspective, man, you know what I'm saying, being able to forgive yourself, man. I always thought that, when I started working in this sort of social emotional field, man, that's the one thing I used to hone in on with young people, man. You forgive yourself, man. You're going to make mistakes, man, especially when you're young. You know what I'm saying? When you're still under the influence of others, it's going to be that way. But that was probably one of the most difficult. I had to sort of it had to be an ugly approach. I had more people crying on that than anything that I would say. When I say you gotta forgive yourself and give them, and man, they would just start busting out, man.
Yeah,
because a lot of people don't express, when someone is really taking advantage of them.
Yeah,
and so yeah, man, salute, man. That's
good stuff. So again, we have the health habits, we have the emotional habits, got another spiritual habits. Again, so we're not going to get long into having a specific spiritual belief.
Right.
Christian, Muslim, Jew, agnostic, whatever you may be.
Mm-hmm.
But I think these things certainly, I think, apply across the board, regardless of what your faith tradition is.
Yes.
And the first thing I say is meditate. I've always said this. Well, someone, I don't know, I had to get some for somebody. So someone gave it to me, but it's been so long ago, I just embraced it as my own. A lot of people think church, for example, since I go to church, I'm a Christian. A lot of people look at Sunday morning as the bulk of their religious or spiritual experience. And what I've discovered over time is it's the time after church. It's the time when you replay that sermon, or you start thinking about that sermon in your mind on the way to work, or if you read the scriptures and what you think on those scriptures later on. It's putting, how do you put the messages either that you heard or what you read, how do you put them in the proper perspective to apply it to your life? I think, to me, that's what meditation is. I'm not saying meditate in terms of saying in the hums. Now, again, if you're into that, you're into that kind of practice, I'm not here to judge that. I'm saying the type of meditation I'm saying is think about spiritual matters. Think about those things that how can this apply to my life? And a lot of times I could be on the way to work. I might have heard a sermon that was like a year ago. And for some reason, it comes up in my mind as I'm driving to work, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. But do you give yourself that time to really start thinking about your life and thinking about life in general? What is my purpose and why am I here? Am I doing the right things? Do I have the proper perspective on things? But some people just go to church on Sunday just to fill the pew for a couple hours. and then they go home just back as if nothing happened. So meditation for me is an essential part of certainly my practice. And I think if you're truly meditating, if you're truly taking time to digest, I also tell people don't just read the Bible blindly or just read, because I know people be on these reading plans. I want to read the Bible in a year, so I read a chapter a night. Now, I'm always saying, what good is that if you didn't learn anything, if you didn't absorb what you just read? What if you just crammed all the time for a test, and the minute you cram for the test, then all the information is gone? You forgot because you never absorbed the lessons. There's one thing to pass a test. It's another thing to actually absorb the material and comprehend what is being said. So I think if more people spent more time doing that, then the points 2 through 5 will be a lot easier to digest. Because if you truly embrace the spiritual matters, then you will judge less, because then you realize, look, I'm no better than anybody else. And then you'll be able to forgive, because guess what? I've been forgiven. And to show gratitude, because again, yeah, my life doesn't suck all the time. Again, I have been blessed over time. And so therefore, I'm going to start showing gratitude rather than complaining about how life sucks all the time, how everything's bad in my life. And yes, at the end of the day, I'm going to put my trust, which is what, for me, what faith is. I'm going to put my trust in certainly in my case, I'm going to put my trust in God and in myself, because again, he's the one who built me up. And that's going to spur me to action so that I can overcome certain things. And again, action cures fear. Always. You can talk a good game. You can say all the right things because you read a bunch of positive mental attitude books, or you heard a bunch of sermons or some positive mental attitude. You bought the Tony Robbins series or something like that. You can do all of that. But unless you actually go out and start applying some of the things that he's talking about, stuff's not going to work in your life. But I think for me, it starts with that idea of meditation. Really internalizing what I'm receiving, and then putting it into application so I can do all these other things. So I know I just preached a sermon right there. But Coach, you come in here, and I'll be back in a sec, so you can certainly spin on this. I'll be back in 2 seconds. I just need to
take care of your business, man.
You got it.
Brother Bennett gave some great points about the spiritual habits, and I was just looking at the list, and I sort of agreed to a great deal of what he was saying, but I sort of, when I see lists, I try to see if I can shuffle the deck whenever I see a list of possibilities or items, right, to see if I can shuffle the deck. And I've always believed, I had a high faith over fear mentality. When I was a kid, I was fearless. I would go to the stockyard and we grab the bulls by the horns, and I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old. Playing football, I always tried to just learn it as fast, and whether I was going to be the best or not. When I was racing, I didn't worry about losing. I don't know what it was, but I just sort of understood that early in life, not to be fearful of a lot of things about life. Each day that I wake up, I believe that's an opportunity for me to just embrace that moment. And I've always had faith that it's going to bring me through to the best outcome. Meditate. I meditate anywhere. I meditate all the time. Driving in the car, walking the dog, sitting down at the dinner table, watching TV, watching football, meditate. I try to, just think of, just the blessing of the opportunity. I don't necessarily, try to just put a limit on what it is that I could be blessed with, learn to know. I just take the information in its moment anytime that I'm revealed to something new. So forgive easily. I think I struggle with that sometimes. That's because if I realize someone was really trying to sort of shame me in a sense and lie on me, somebody lie on me, yeah, I believe that once it's notified that you understand that I know that you lied, I think it's on them to apologize, to move forward. And me, like I spoke of earlier, that's just like if I saw somebody doing some deviant behavior in the community, I would treat that person the same way. I would just dismiss myself. I don't need to talk to you. I don't need to be your friend. You don't need to be my friend. I think that's something right there. I take gratitude for everything about my life, the good, the bad, the ugly. I've appreciated my life. You know, that's why I can remember my good times as a youngster, because I had loving parents. I had brothers and sisters that we fought. I had good friends. I had bad friends. You know, I knew I was outside. I got to enjoy a lot, you know. And then just being in the headspace. I think now judging less, I could probably be a lot better, but I don't necessarily target individuals. You know what I'm saying? But it's just now just based on that, individuals show certain behaviors and they demonstrate those behaviors. So yeah, it may be attached to them, because I could be doing a whole bunch of this crazy stuff, really. And then if I would expect somebody to call me out too, you know, just if they recognize it, you know, because most people realize when they're doing bad. They know it. They've been doing it for a while. You know it. You know it's something bad about it. And I would hope that someone, especially, I'll just use you, Brother Bennett. I would hope that if we were out hanging and I did something stupid, I would hope that you would be the like, hey, coach, hell no. Let's go. Get you. You ain't gonna do nothing stupid. I would want somebody in my corner like that than somebody to sit back and watch me crash out and then go back and tell everybody, oh man, he just crashed out, man. He just, man, you know what I'm saying? I grew up in that era, because I would talk you off the ledge like, no, we got to get out of here. Let's go. It ain't worth all that. So
Right. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. I know Catellia. Now it's interesting. It's good for two reasons: that you spend some time again in a Bible group. That also goes back to the previous slide about, again, you being around people who edify you. If I had a caveat, if I had just one thing, you don't want to be in an echo chamber either. If you truly want to grow spiritually, in other words, to get around people who have a different spiritual perspective, things that will challenge your thinking. If everyone's in the group just saying amen to everything that's being said, I don't know if that's necessarily the healthiest space to be in. Just from prior experience, you know, you can kind of become a little clan, a little group all to yourselves or whatnot. And I see, you know, you see a lot of people, especially Christians, who can kind of sort of combine like that, and then they you know, then they become very isolated and just start thinking, you know, some hubris starts to form in. And so we definitely, you know, you want to be able to, you know, when you can meditate, especially on things that apply to your life, like in real life situations with your family, with your husband, with your job, your career, with just little things that when you could connect those dots, then those are certainly excellent things. Certainly you can share with your group. But, you know, a lot of times in certain meetings or whatnot, everyone just kind of reads, everyone's kind of gives a perspective or whatnot. But everyone, you know, is looking for sameness versus having a healthy dialogue and debate over differences. Not everybody agrees. Not because I watch a ton of content where you have people who are way smarter than I theologically, who disagree on all kinds of issues. But I like to hear the dialogue. I like to see people having an intelligent, respectful conversation in spite of the differences. But, you know, I've seen a lot of clans formed up when people say, oh, well, you're right, and, you know, we're right and you're wrong, and because we're right and you're wrong, then you need to change, or you're not a Christian if you're not believing the same things. So you don't want to get into that bubble where everyone is talking and thinking the same. Allow for some difference so we can have some iron sharpening iron and have some healthy dialogue in these spaces. I think you'd be better off. Again, just from my experience from being in groups like that in the past and seeing sometimes where that stuff can go.
The long-term effect could be limiting. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Over time, yeah, definitely get a different perspective outside of that comfort zone. So you're in the comfort zone. Everybody's going to sort of emulate the same understanding, but when you step out, get a great different perspective, then that just builds on the whole understanding. So, salute
indeed,
to you.
indeed. All right, next point: social habits. Okay, so again, so a lot of what we've dealt with up to this point is dealing with the self. Okay, so eating right, having the right thoughts and mindset, working on your spiritual life, and what then could impact that can have on your social interactions. That also is part of your happiness. Okay, so again, you want to be happy with yourself, but what good is that if you're keeping that to yourself? So again, what kind of habits can you even make your social interactions better? And believe me, certainly in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of these social interactions go the wrong way. Dialogue breaks down, relationships are broken because people aren't employing these things into your life. So again, listen to understand. Don't just be listening until you wait for the person to stop talking before you can finish. Or you just waiting for them to finish so you can make your point. You're not interested in what they're saying. No, listen to understand. Keep an open mind. Again, going back to that last point where I talked about the Bible group. Speak well of others. It may sound old what they say, if you can't say anything nice, don't take opinions to heart. Again, it's just just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean that they hating on you, which is something I hear a lot with young people. Oh, they just hating because you're just different. No, just take it for what it is, apply what you can use, and let the rest go. And lastly, avoiding social comparison. A lot of people are judging their happiness based on the happiness of another influencer somewhere. And you think if I'm not happy like them, then I can't be happy if I don't have what they have or doing what they're doing. And influencers are really having, I think, a deleterious effect on young people. And despite what we're telling, despite being around good people, what your parents are telling you, your support group and all that, you still going after someone because they got 1 million followers. Or you're keeping up with the Joneses thinking you're not happy because of someone has. Well, the reality is you don't know what's really going on. You go into someone's house as living in someone else's shoes. Don't be surprised if it's not what you thought it was. Someone may have more than you, or at least their parents, they may have more material possessions than you. But don't think that you're a loser or a failure because you don't have what they have. Because you don't know what goes with that. There's a lot of people who got a lot more money than I do, but I wouldn't trade places with them for a minute. You got to be happy with you and your situation and be at peace with yourself. And if I get there somewhere, then fine, I'll be grateful for it. But you got to find some contentment and some happiness in where you're at. But if you're always going to compare yourself to other people, I mean, I take this from my training, my clients. I never compare a client to one another. Guy can get in there, bench 400. One guy can barely bench 100 pounds. It's irrelevant because I'm working on that person's strength curve, on that person's strength journey in the process. But if he sees the numbers of someone else and you start feeling a certain way because you're not as strong as somebody else, a lot of times I've done camps where I've had push-up challenges and pull-up challenges. I had got kids who couldn't do a pull-up or just barely able to do one. I'm rallying against like everybody else. Don't just laugh and say you can't do one. Encourage them. Let's clap for them. Let's go. Come on, you did it. Or if you tried, fine. Let's try it again. Stop measuring people by some other person's standards. You might only be able to do one chin up. That's an achievement. I got a brother, a good friend of mine, who had an autoimmune disease that affected he can barely walk. My man, when he gets up, he got to get those machine walker things to help him get through therapy and stuff like that. I told him last time I told him, I said, look, you did more than I ever did in a squat rack, ever. And don't be feeling bad at yourself because you can't live, you can't do things the way you do. You keep fighting the fight. So again, this comparison to everybody else. Your journey, your path is your path. The cards you've been dealt are the cards you've been dealt. Work them. Stop wishing for someone else's hand, because you might not be able to handle it, or you might not be able to appreciate it. So again, I'm ranting here. I'm kind of getting worked up over some of these things because again, especially that last one, I'm telling you. And again, I live with it because again, I got these daughters and they're Gen Zers, and it's all about the Real Housewives, and it's all about the social media, and it's all about this and that or whatever. I'm like, who cares?
Right. That's it. Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see any of those women. I mean, I could say some words I'm not going to say here in these airways, but I'm just saying I wouldn't want any of that life. How you going to be a housewife and most of the women on that show aren't even married?
Right.
But you going to call yourself a housewife? But like I said, I'm not going there tonight. That's a rant for another day.
Calm down, brother Bennett. Take a water break.
I'm trying, man.
Take a water break, man. Take a water break, man.
I need my Husa moment right here.
Yeah,
so
take a water break. Take a water break.
Take it, bro. Take it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man. Again, with this order of lists, me, again, I said, I think when you stepped away, man, I like shuffling the deck, because that's a big thing. I never, and this, I'm going to take it to my generation and Gen X is right. I never compared myself to anybody else on what they had or what they were doing. I never did that. So as I got older, I never looked at what younger people were doing, the money they were making, and anybody in the entertainment business, and I never compared myself to that. I understood that I just need to continue to work hard, continue to, respect people, places, and things everywhere I went. And I always believed that at some point I have my opportunity, and I'm glad it happened when I was older. I'm a lot more appreciative of happening as an older guy, because I'm not drawn by the lights and the flash. That's not me. So I'm really big on that. Take opinions, nah, man. People talk about Jesus, man. How can I even say that they ain't gonna talk about me? It was me against the world. So as far as people can have their opinion. It's just an opinion. Again, working in this, it was sort of something to try to tell people to do. I even try to do it on YouTube sometimes. Be like, man, you can't wear, but it's so hard. It's so hard. Okay. But see, we grown on YouTube, so there ain't nobody, Brother Bennett, it's a whole different Coach Ferg with a group of 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds than it is to a whole bunch of 40, 45, 50-year-olds. It's a whole different conversation, brother. So when you hear me talk, like, I don't care about grown people's feelings in that space, because people on YouTube ain't trying to get that type of message.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but listen, man, I've always kept an open mind of just about learning things. I like different cultures. I used to say to myself, I want to know everything white people do. And in a way, I did learn a lot. I learned how to work on cars I learned, you know what I'm saying? I learned how to very good with a weapon. Learn how to construct a house, put a roof on. I learned how to do a lot of things by watching those who were doing it, in a sense. The examples that I was given, I just had to utilize them to the best of my ability. And unfortunately, me growing up in my world, my father worked for a company. My father invented the Louisville Slugger batting dipping machine, but my father never shared that type of innovation with me in the time where I was growing up in the innovation movement. And I used to think about that, like, man, if he would have told me this shit when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, no telling. But then he was dealing with his issues. So I wasn't like, oh man, my daddy ruined my life. No, I just appreciated what he gave me in that space that we had shared, him and my mother together, how they sort of molded me to think of others outside of myself. But I love myself first. You know, I'll shut up after this. Listen to understand. Yeah, when I'm talking to people who's looking for the help, who's I ain't gonna say, and not all of them are looking for the help, but who are in a position where others have to make decisions for them. I listen to understand.
Mhm.
When I come to a space where it's a whole bunch of adults just pushing out their rhetoric and feelings and philosophies to the masses like it ain't no shit, then I ain't listening to understand. I'm listening to respond. I ain't gonna lie. But I understand what they saying, but in the response, it ain't for me to say, well, you know, your feelings are hurt. No, fuck that. Like, you recognize your feelings are hurt. What's the game plan? Mr. Bennett, we out on the football field every 30 seconds in life. What's the next play? Okay, that play didn't work. What's the next play? And that's how I approach it in the YouTube streets. I mean, I'm trying to win the game. I ain't trying to, I would never come out here and say, Brother Bennett, well, you know, we've been practicing all week. However, we're going to lose today, man. It's going to be a loss. And we just go win gracefully, man. Forget all y'all hard work. Forget your blood, sweat, and tears in practice, beating each other up. We just gonna go out here and look at that ain't in my mentality. Right. So yeah, it's a great topics, man. Speak well of others.
I try to like I said, the one I really do, I think that's helped me, I guess, in this space. Because again, like you said, the talking points and everything can really get hard to deal with. But I just try to get, to understand as much as I can to see if we can have a discussion. Because again, a lot of people have their talking points until you start deconstructing it.
Yeah.
And again, in order to do that, you have to be listening. So again, and again, unfortunately, we're seeing this, I think, too much with older people. To me, that's the sad part. The fact that older people, guys our age, Gen Xers and whatnot, and older millennials, don't know how to have a proper conversation. When we're supposed to be the wiser ones, we're supposed to have some knowledge and some common sense, and yet the level of disrespect in these spaces is such. So how's a young person going to benefit from that? So for me, it's on any level. So I get what you're saying. Certainly when you're with the kids and whatnot, but I got to keep it. I try to keep that same energy with the older adults too, even those who are older than me.
Yeah.
I really try to maintain that because again, it helps me kind of get through the conversation and hopefully pull something productive from it.
So. Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I'm gonna say this. Real quick. Yep. Speak well of others, right? It's like I had a sister that was 5 years older than me, and I had a cousin who was 4 years older than me. So everybody within that 5 year, well, I respect everybody from top to bottom, but it's like the people that I ain't gonna say. I'm gonna give a go a little bit more. I'm gonna say like people like 10 years older than me. I have nothing bad to say about them. I don't, and you know what I'm saying. And I can even go to even my mom and dad's generation, my grandparents, all of those individuals that were living during the height of the civil rights era. Mm-hmm. They get nothing but respect.
Right.
I don't have anything bad to say about them. But people my age and younger, I'm going to respect you, but I might not have something good to say all the time. Mm. So, yeah.
Shout out to the actual King Smith dropping in tonight. Good to see you, my man. Make sure that you follow the King and Me show. Certainly Monday nights on the King and Me YouTube channel. Certainly, he and Michelle are going into that next phase of life, and they're also in the contest. I want to promote all this stuff here, but check out they're in a couples contest where you can certainly go and vote on their channel. So again, if you go to the last show, they gave you all the details on that. So that's the King and Me. Go there and check out their content. Good dialogue with those
brother.
two. And so number 4 had to learn late in life. Yeah, certainly
Opinions to heart.
not taking opinions to heart, but you just take it as is. And again,
Yep.
you apply it to your life what you can, and then discard the rest. Bruce Lee was always good at that. Absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and take what is essential as your own. And so certainly having that proper mindset will certainly help you get through some things. So, but good to have you on board with us tonight, King. Winding down here. So we got this last one. We got 2 more slides after this one. So image habits. Okay, so we've dealt with the self through your healthy eating habits, through your emotional habits, through your spiritual habits, certainly through your interactions with people, but also your image. How do you want to be perceived? Being kind and patient with people, being honest, and smiling. I don't know. We got to a point where everybody was like, well, I guess it kind of started with some of us too. We kind of grew up, you had to look hard. You know what I'm saying? Now, later generations call it, mean mugging. But, we just grow up. I guess we grew up with that rap era, the early rap. So it's like you just had to look hard, smiling, you look soft. And why you smile all the time? Something was wrong with you, smiling. And it's something that, it is what it takes. It takes hundreds of muscles to frown, but only a few muscles to smile, something like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're happy, it's okay letting your face know and letting people around you know it. To be a joy to be around. Again, that's attractive to people. And so smiling is something that, and again, I heard when I first got into these YouTube spaces, you had all the manosphere talking about, oh, well, women don't smile anymore. You go up to talk to them, they look you up and down and give you that mean mug or whatever. They don't smile at you. Just say hi, just to be friendly, just out of respect. It's like, nobody, men don't want to smile. Women don't want to smile. No one wants to smile. But again, in terms of how you're perceived, you want to be perceived for the right reasons, not the wrong ones, not because of how you look or because you're too flirty or what have you. But being kind, being patient, and being honest will never go out of style, no matter who, what some social media influencer may say about it. It's not about having multicolored hair and, eyelashes that are 6 inches long and all this other kind of stuff that's out there. Again, let people know you by the fact that you were kind, patient, and honest, and that you had a good smile. Again, those are timeless. They'll never I just think those are good things. If you want to influence or be an influence to anyone, be known by these things versus something superficial or over some nonsense that you become infamous because of some nonsense that you're doing out there. So Coach, what are your thoughts on these here?
Oh man, image habits, man. That's kind. I think I'm kind for the most part with everybody. I can strike up a conversation with a monk, anybody. I've done it. It don't matter what race. I can strike up a conversation, and I'm always excuse me, thank you, appreciate you.
Sure,
You know what I'm saying? Anytime I get help in the grocery store, even if I'm asking where's the noodles, thank you, appreciate you. This is something that's always been with me. Now, again, anybody doing a business, if you're at work, I'm gonna always be polite. It doesn't matter. But sometimes, I don't know, when I see just in the, it don't happen as much, hanging out with guys and fellas. I've always been, never been a confrontational type of person, but I wasn't a pushover. I never really had anybody try to bully me or nothing. So patient. I'm patient with the youngins. I'm patient. And older people, senior citizens, and the kids. I have some of the greatest patience. People like you have some. Yeah, I can take a group of 12 and get them lined up in 15 minutes. They all be standing shoulder to shoulder. And just speaking to elderly, you know what I'm saying? Just, appreciating the fact that they still here. They still living. They give me inspiration to get old. And I want to get old. I want to be
Yeah.
an old man. So yeah, I think I have less patience with my son, if that's a person that I'm gonna say, because I want him to be successful 10 years ahead of what we had to work through. Even his path is a little bit more, I guess, softer than I know what I went through in a sense.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because my vision is like, hey, now you can be more intentional about how you get out here in the world. See, my parents was like, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And not, but I was appreciated because of filling an application for my first job. Parents never helped. Getting to work, parents helped, but it wasn't a priority that I rely on that. Sometimes making something to eat. My mother cooked all the time, but sometimes I can make it myself. Cutting the grass, I didn't ever really, you know what I'm saying, things that I wanted for myself, I didn't have to press my parents for. So, and then I just passed that on to people who were sort of the seniors or the kids or youth. Honest, I used to not be honest with some of my friends, some guys that may have wanted to get into some nonsense. I used to lie and be like, man, my mother just told me I got to go over my grandmama's house for the week and just to get away from the guys doing the nonsense.
Right.
So I used to tell, even some women I used to meet sometimes, I used to lie to them, like, especially if I knew it was, once I realized it was something shady, I'll just make up something like, let me get out of this situation. And if I got allowed to do it, so be it. Smile. I love, when I take pictures, I smile. Most of the pictures I take, I'm smiling. Now around people, I ain't just walk around smiling. And I don't even.
Why not? Why not?
What's that?
Why not?
Because I don't know what their people's intentions are. I need to play
what's your intention? I'm just saying, if like I said, if you're happy, if you're going around, if you meet someone for the first time, it could be in line at the restaurant, you're in the Chipotle line or something like that. You look back and you just say, hey, how you doing? I mean,
no, I speak.
But so you speak though with a mean.
Yeah, I'm always speaking, but I ain't gonna show
you
all 10
well,
of
why
my
not?
teeth. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying have a Cheshire cat. I'm not saying all the ear to ear. I'm just saying, hey, how you doing?
But that's how I smile though. When I smile, is I'm like, hey.
So you need to work on that mid-range. So you all or nothing. You
that's why
you ear to ear or nothing or mean mug. You got it. It's like in basketball. You either shoot the 3-point shot or you dunk it. You need to work on that mid-range game. That kind of smile that's friendly but not flirty. The smile that's But that's
why I speak. I avoid the smile. That's why I speak. I avoid. I speak. I'm always speak. When I walk down, I'm looking for that eye contact moment so I can at least acknowledge and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? And it has nothing. Everybody, I may not. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Smile. I don't even expect. Let me say this.
That's hardcore.
I don't even expect a woman to smile at me even if I say hello. I don't expect. Oh, you. I ain't never stopped a female like, oh, you ain't smiling. I'd be like, okay.
But it's not even that. It's like it's the mean mugging. It's just like what you want, Negro? Like, I mean,
I done got the smile more than I done got the mean mug.
Well, I'm just saying, but someone the way they walk around, it's like no wonder you single. Because again, any guy who just says hello to you or something like that, and you just automatically go to the worst. It's like, man, like brothers aren't ish or whatever. I'm just saying, I think a lot of that is keeping people separated.
Yeah.
And I think some of that could be just easily broken. Just again, especially look, if you're dealing with something or whatever, I'm not saying put on a happy face, just be happy. I'm just saying, but if you're generally a normal happy person and you just want to put that in your mind and say, oh, well, I want to smile because people are going to take this, that goes back to an earlier point there. Are you thinking positively?
Not everybody.
Okay, so
Not everybody.
so you're gonna have a little bit of that hard. I don't know. I guess me, I generally tend to smile, quite a bit. But again, I know the difference between that kind of cheesy smile and just smile with the lips. You don't even have to show the teeth or whatever. But just or if I see somebody, I give them the nod. The nod up that we do. When we meet, especially when we see a brother or whatever, it's like what up, whatever. But I just try to. Coach
Mhm.
doesn't look like he would walk around with a mean mug. That's what he's saying. He's like,
No, I don't.
you
I
don't
don't.
flash
I
the
don't have a.
smile at people. You
No, I
don't
don't have
flash
a
it.
mean. I don't have a mean mug when I walk
Hang on,
around. I don't.
when you met your wife, you didn't smile.
The first time, no, I didn't smile when I first met her because I was looking at her. I was looking at her, and I don't want to come off as a creep. I think about like, oh, like,
So smiling is creepy now.
no. What I'm saying is, the first time we actually saw each other, right? So yeah, it was. I've always been a cool guy. Like, I don't, I ain't. I show excitement, but I ain't never really been a big cheesy. I've always been
I didn't
cool
say
under
cheese. See,
pressure.
you keep taking it to cheese. I'm like, it's like in basketball. You need a nice
I
10
give
to
it,
12.
a little
You
soft
need a
love.
nice 10 to 12-foot jumper. You don't need to be hitting three
Yeah.
pointers from way out or just get in the post and dunk it all the time. You need a nice baby hook, a nice little 10-footer, just something in the middle. Just
And that's
just a
something that always worked. You know what I'm saying? But again, when it comes to the women, you gonna get that. To the guys, you might just get a straight poker face. But I'm gonna acknowledge you. What's up? I'm gonna be like, "What's up, my man?" I ain't gonna be like, you ain't gonna get no teeth. You ain't gonna get nothing. You gonna get all what's up.
you can smile without showing teeth.
But I ain't giving it to no man. I ain't
You
never
can
have, never will. You gonna get a what's up, what's up.
What's
If
up?
you're young, what's up, young
What's
guy?
up?
What's up, Chief?
What's
You
up?
gonna get it. My voice. I don't even change my voice. I just say it like it. What's up? What's up, little guy? What's up, young man? I
All
say
right.
young man if I see young people.
I don't know how you guys
Young lady.
feel about it, but for the chat, are you a smiley type of person? Do you smile ear to ear? Do you have a mid-range game or whatever, or you just want to look hard all the time? But like I said, I think a smile doesn't cost you anything, and you can actually make someone's day just by showing them a smile, or certainly having a friendly disposition. A smile ain't gonna hurt
Smile
matters, but
for me. Would you just smile? That's Tupac for me. Smile.
See, Pete has a nice smile. He has a look at it. See, you
Yeah.
look at the smile. Look at the great. If you look at our gray area show, the last part of the intro video, he cracks a smile. It's not a big one, but it's a smile. I'm the big cheesy when I'm looking at him like this with the big cheesy or whatever. He's got a nice little smile. It's not threatening or anything, but again, it's pretty,
Like a
it's pretty.
sneaky. It's like a sneaky smile.
It's just a friendly smile. It's just nice.
You being sneaky.
It's good. It's good. That's how he attracts all the ladies. But in
Yeah.
any
See?
event, last slide, last group. So again, we went over image habits. The last one here again, future habits. Okay, future. Okay, what do you think about going forward? So again, your level of things opposition may come your way. Again, how you can be happy. Again, you might not be necessarily happy in the moment because things might have went a certain way. But what kind of things can you start to internalize and make habits that can help you in the future? So again, let go of what can't be changed. Yeah, I mean, there's no sense of arguing over that stuff. Accept where you are, or accept the way things go, and don't just harp on those things. Are you thinking about the future? Look on the bright side. Again, I might have lost or I might not have gotten, but what did you learn in the process? All right. So in that case, I know Stephen A. Smith talks about that. It's like I never lose because even when I think I lose, I actually win because I learned something that I didn't know before. If I get schooled on something, I'm better off than I was before. So again, looking at the experience as something to take away from it. See failure as an opportunity to improve on something. I tried that before. That didn't work. Let me try something else. Make the most of now. And then again, dreaming big, still keep it. Now, again, I'm not saying dream big. Yeah, I'm going to be a multimillionaire and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just saying, goals, aspirations that you have, it may not have happened in the moment. Can you think about the future. Can you still keep pushing forward? I tend to smile like Miro Sula, which makes people a bit nervous. But certainly, can you still keep pushing forward? Those are habits. The disappointments, how you turn those things around. We've all heard about these great inventors. Thomas Edison, how many times did he have to try with the help of Lewis Latimer? Look him up. But how many times did he have to try before he made the light bulb? Well, how many times do people have to keep trying before he found flight or whatever? I'm going to be flying over the month of July and August. If the Wright brothers didn't keep trying, will we be flying right now? So again, it's the idea of, again, getting up when you get knocked down. All those cliches of rising up, and trying again. Again, those things it may not feel comfortable in the moment. Failure never feels good, but it pays dividends later. And again, I implement that from my training regiment because I train to failure, meaning I cannot physically do another rep with the movement that I'm doing. I go to momentary muscular failure. And that has yielded benefits to me over time that I'm still appreciating, and I'm in a good space now because, again, I adopted this about 14 years ago. And so so the idea of, again, embracing failure so you can get better, so you can learn from the mistakes that have been made and keep pushing forward. A lot of people are afraid to fail. A lot of people are afraid of rejection. They don't want to hear no. And they hang on to those former no's, and you can't go anywhere with that. So again, the idea of embracing these habits, of this mindset, of perspective, is important to your future. But you need to start adopting that now rather than later. So, Coach, as we start to wind this show down and start to land this plane, your thoughts on these latter points. And so we went through 30 points, but again, I thought it was better if I just kind of make them more digestible and break them down into certain groups.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
To have a general way to do it. Otherwise, it'd be like 28, 29. It's like, when are we going to be done with this list?
No, that was the best way to do it.
So your thoughts as we start to wrap this up.
Man, a lot of this, but I can remember specific clients and students and parents and people that I work with, in going over these last 30 habits, right? Just letting go of what you can't change. Most people have already lived through the worst of their life. At least that's what I believe, especially when they're in a space where they're now looking to resolve some of those issues. You done already lived through it. So letting go of that, again, I saw it more in younger people than older adults who live life, who've got out. Once after high school, people start living real life. So look at things on the bright side. That's something that I've always done. Sometimes I think now I'm more of a like, oh man, what if it don't happen? Because I'm worried and want it to happen. But when I was younger, I was fighting uphill. I used to be like, man, I know it's going to work. Ain't nothing going to stop me. I'm going to do it. From the time, I don't know, man. Yeah, just wanting to be successful, playing sports. I used to dream about scoring touchdowns and making plays the night before. Take a nap after school, and I used to see myself and visualize it. And it used to work sometimes. See failure as an opportunity, yes. I do that with everything.
Absolutely.
I've gotten so much stuff now just to make sure that nothing happens to my house. I'm a tool guy, man. I got two chesses, drills, anchor bolt. I got a whole lot of tools, man, and my wife didn't understand it because I remember having to get certain things done, and I just looked at those things as an opportunity to be better, man. Make the most of now, yeah. I've always sort of tried. Looking back, I would think I tried to make the most of every day. Even when I'm relaxing, that allows me to have some type of peace in the chaos, so I can think clearly.
Right.
And dream big. I don't dream as big as I used to. I don't have dreams often, and my dreams are all over the place. Actually, with my real dreams, but when I'm thinking about just living life, trying to be the best and live my best and do things that I never thought I would do, I've always been that, and I encourage anybody to dream big.
Yeah.
Dream big. Don't be afraid at this point.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've been thinking about this is like when we were in college,
Hmm.
we did things then. We didn't have nickels to our name. We got a
No.
budget. We got a student, because we were a student body organization. We got maybe $2,000 for the year, $1,000 a semester, and we had to put on programs and invite speakers. We had, we brought Louis Farrakhan to college. We brought
That's big.
Gil Noble from Like It Is to
That's big,
college.
man.
All these prominent people, Amiri Baraka and all these persons were able to do. It was just a bunch of guys who just got together and just got some stuff done. We had networks of people or whatever, and we were able just to do some things. And it's just amazing now that a lot of us are older now, wiser, have more resources or whatnot, but trying to get older guys to come together and do some things is really hard. Even, even not to say you got to be a foot soldier, but I'm saying like we're at an age now where we might not have to be on the ground, but can we be like the executive producer, right? Executive producer for a film, you put the money up and let the young people kind of run with it. But it's just amazing now how it's just hard to get guys to collaborate on things now, despite that we're supposed to be wiser, despite the fact that we're supposed to be, have all this knowledge and whatnot, but we're not necessarily putting it to good use. And so that's something that even for like I said, for Gen X's, I'm not on a cane. I still got a little energy left. But I lament that sometimes. So when I talk to my guys, when we get together for reunions and stuff like that, man, we used to do this, that, and the third and whatnot. It's like, yeah. So it's like, well, where is that energy now? You would think our networks would be deeper. Have access to deeper pockets so we could do some positive things. And so I kind of lament that, but it's like, I think for a lot of older people, they say in football, they say you have a certain amount of hits, or boxing. They say you got a certain number of hits that you can take before it's time to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And when a player is like, they don't want to take them hits anymore, it's time to get out. Or a boxer, when you don't want to take those punches to the face anymore, it's time to get out. Not to say you don't know more, that you can still do it. But for a lot of people, it's like, they just don't want to, take those risks that you did when you had nothing. You just had energy and enthusiasm. And sometimes I think, man, if we can combine this energy and enthusiasm with the network or with the knowledge base of the OGs, then we could certainly start to turn some things around, especially in the Black community in particular. But we clash, and the OGs are clashing with the young ones, and we can't necessarily go together. And a lot of times because the OGs still want to run things. So I do lament that sometimes, that sometimes life will kind of get you to a point where you're just not willing to go out on those things, because again, you're afraid of losing something, versus when you didn't have anything, you had reckless abandon. And I wanted to go back to a point that you said earlier about your son. You said you're not patient with your son. That's always, to me, always a source of I don't think any parent necessarily gets this right, but obviously you raised your kids in such a way where they didn't necessarily have it as hard as us, but we're impatient with them because they didn't have it as hard as us. You know what I'm saying? It's like your parents was like, look, you're going to have to learn on your own. And you did, just like I did, because my father was going to show me certain things. So we might have grown up faster. But then, because our kids didn't have to necessarily learn these things, because either we taught them how to do it, or we didn't we didn't throw them in the pool because we were so protective of what we had. Now they're not as mature as we are when we were their age, or they're maybe not as prepared, and so we seem to be less patient. But we're the ones who raised them. We're the
Mhm.
ones who put them in an environment. Your dad was going to be there for certain things, so it's like I got to be there on their own. You were always there for your son. So I just always find that kind of paradigm. It's like, yeah, we created this environment and it produced the result, but we're impatient with it because it wasn't what we had. But maybe that's the way it has to be. We talked about this on Tuesday night on the Sparta Arena Network. We were talking about, life is supposed to be hard. It just is. Anytime humanity tried to make life softer or easier, it's had damaging results. Go and look at any kind of great empire history over time. They build up, they get comfortable, they get fat, and then they get conquered.
So they get fat.
So yeah, I mean, fat and luxury or body fat or whatever it is. I mean, it's like you're not as hungry as you are on the come up.
Mhm.
And so now it's kind of like, you just want to maintain. It's like you want to play prevent defense. And how many times have we seen in the NFL, team goes into prevent defense and winds up losing the game because they stopped being aggressive. What got them the lead in the first place, they're afraid to lose, and then they wind up losing.
For sure.
And so sometimes I wonder then if as much as we try to shield our kids from the adversities that we had, do we do them in some ways a disservice by not making it harder for them in order to come to come up? So, but that's a question. We'll be answering that to like the age of time, because our parents could say, well, it was harder on us than it was for you. So every generation's kind of had this kind of this kind of exchange. But I'm just wondering if that patience part, especially because we are older. They say patience is a virtue. I find more older people being impatient when we really should be growing in patience over time. That's always something that I'm, that I'm always, kind of struggling with, trying to understand that. Why is it that so many older people are less patient today when you would think being older and wiser should make you more patient? That's just something I've always contemplated. Not sure what you feel about that.
The way you put it, that's a great perspective, right? And I think I did a fairly good job of sort of compartmentalizing my personal life from my professional life, right? And when I talk about being impatient with my son, I believe I allowed him to work it out, but I didn't allow for too much error. It wasn't about, oh, you got to hurry up and do this. I'm always pressing the point to just keep doing something. Just keep doing it. Just continue to figure it out, work it out. And since I was privy to information, because a lot of what I did was also not just the speaking part, I had to actually walk individuals through the process, whether it was writing a resume, filling out an application, speaking with employers, preparing for an interview, the dress code for an interview, the articulation of your words according to the topic of your interview, speaking with military personnel, speaking with vendors in the community, the mom and pop stores offering opportunity, speaking with parents, parole officers, probation officers, going to court, testifying, going into homes, seeing the chaos living out in real time in some of these homes. So, and I just sort of used it all to my advantage. I never went in judging people. It was always having the open mind to say, hey, whatever situation I see that's going on, I'm here to try to fix it. And whether I fix it or not, I want to make sure I do my part in providing the best information that you may not get just from certain people who just doing a job. I took
Right.
that personal. So that's why I say I'm gonna finish with this. With my son, I try to at least introduce the information to him. And it's up to him. As you know, I'll tell him, I say, I'm gonna go over it with you a couple times, make you read me a couple paragraphs sometime, but in the end, at least you'll know this little bit. And then if you wanted more, you can always just dive into it more to figure things out. And if you come to a space where you're not quite sure or you may need some questions answered, that's where I can be to support you in answering those questions to ensure you get the best outcome. So
Gotcha. Great point to wrap up. So we're at the end of the show. So again, we went through 30 points, 30 habits. And again, this is also, again, a good methodology where they say, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? But again, sometimes breaking up when something's big, when you break it up into sections, it's a lot more easier to digest. So hopefully we put these points in such a way, we group them in such a way that, again, eat more easily digestible, take human bites and be able to, to chew on these and take from it. Again, the two bald opinions on how you go about doing these things. But again, happiness takes work. I don't care who you are or whatnot, or what kind of feeling or energy that you might be in. If you want to be happy, you got to put the work in and do these things that ensure long-term happiness, not just happiness for a moment. And if you can certainly employ these things into your life, then again, you can see those benefits start to manifest in your life. But we're coming down certainly to the end of the show, just under the 2-hour mark here, and so we take these off the screen as we kind of give our final thoughts and start to wrap up the event. PP, if you want to take this down, you can. I was looking for the button, see if I could take it off myself, but I can't. But if you want to take this down as we, I think I got it here. Remove the source. There we go. And, certainly as we wind it down. But again, I enjoyed this conversation with your coach. Again, I think one thing every time we talk, I get to know you better. And I think you get to know me a little bit better also, how we work and how we think and how we tick and whatnot. So I think, one of the serendipities of doing this is an opportunity, even though we're still thousands of miles away. I don't know if I'll ever get to Kentucky or you come up to,
hey man,
come
you
up to
never
Jersey.
know, man. Remember,
That's it.
brother,
We got.
man,
We may have to
positive
plan.
thinking, you never
We may have to
know.
plan. That's what I plan. I would love to do a live, a one-on-one show in person.
Yeah,
at
that'd be
a
cool, man.
destination of your choice or whatever, and just have a live show and we just we just chop it up. But certainly,
You up in PA?
I'm in Jersey, man.
Okay, Jersey. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not far.
So maybe meet in the middle, maybe meet in DC or something like that, and we
Ooh,
just,
that would be.
so
We can try to say something.
All
What
right.
we can do, start maybe, I guess, coming to next spring or something. Because I like to
Okay.
plan stuff out and
Absolutely.
run it by my wife and see how we can coordinate something like that. We'll
Absolutely, I would love that. I would definitely love that. And there's something to be said because again, I've been able to meet with Pete in person, with Black David, and certainly even our pain, and certainly I think it adds. I think just having that personal touch and interaction, I think it
Yeah.
definitely adds quality and benefits to the show. And
For sure,
thank you,
man.
Cateli, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, salute to
Always a
Cateli.
pleasure to see you anywhere that you're at. Really appreciate you, even though you're a mesomorph. I don't like you very much because you mesomorphs make me sick. But that being said, but again, habit, always speaking positively. So the nice thing about mesomorphs, you put on muscle very easily, even when you're not trying. But in any event, really appreciate you being on. But I think we're getting a visitation from the Sparta.
Oh, of course, I had to jump in already. But when you said about us meeting together, you gotta give me a little credit. That I started that trend. You gotta give me a little credit on this
Oh
deal.
my God! Now he wants credit.
This guy's got he wants the credit all the time, man. Why can't this personal satisfaction of you being the mastermind of all this? Why can't it be enough? It's like he needs to have his
the only one I want to take credit for is us meeting and me, you, and David meeting. That's the only thing I want credit for.
Okay.
That was a great.
And you meeting King, obviously. That was if, you gotta give me credit, bro. Like I have open your mindset to higher mountains since you met me.
Man. We're never gonna get over this, man. We're
Yeah,
gonna hear,
of course not. I got my bonus,
we're gonna
bro.
hear this. We're gonna hear this forever, man.
But no,
It's
seriously,
just-
all joking aside, that is a great idea. We shoot me halfway. Because I mean Maryland, DC once a year. You guys know that. So, Coach, how far are you from DC?
Man, probably about 10 hours, 11 hours.
Ooh, man,
Oh, that's not
still
bad.
from Kentucky.
Yeah, it's you know, Virginia Beach is 10. So it's probably another 2.5.
Yeah, that's
from
kind
there.
of far for him. I'm like, I feel bad for him.
Yeah, I
driving
thought for
that
some
far.
reason I thought it might be like 6 or 8 because I know I've gone to driven like South Carolina. That's like 12, 14 hours. So I didn't think it was that far down.
Yeah,
but-
it's fine. I would fly anyway, man. I wouldn't drive it. I would just fly in and just.
How about it's a flight?
It ain't too bad, man. About 3.5 hours for us. But yeah, I would do
not
something
bad,
like that,
actually.
man. You know, I would help
Because-
me get my room and everything, and I would just sort of, yeah, you know, do it like that. Maybe I would love to do it like, I don't know, during the day, man, with a nice little view or something. I don't know.
Because if like from PA where I live, it's 3.5 hours to Maryland. So I assume it's another hour for you, Paul. So 4.5. You know, I'm saying like you can always come towards me and we can jump on a car and head that way. And Coach can meet us and we can pick up David too. So we're gonna have the three musketeers there. Hey, you
Well,
know,
hold on, man.
yeah, we should set that up for sometime next summer because I think it's like kind of too late for this summer. But
yeah,
definitely.
we can definitely start.
And to see who else from Bossman is down that area too, so we have another one there.
Yeah.
So we got King down there, part of the or this whole big family. We can CQ's down there, so we're gonna get the whole team together and like in one big group. And so
Yeah, I can see like how you have like in one room, like kind of like with the sofas in the back.
Yeah,
Everyone's
like
on
the sofa
You got the
setup,
mics
something
in
like
the
that.
front and
exactly
multiple
that's what I'm
cameras
thinking.
and everything going and picking up stuff. So yeah, so we can.
I can see how to talk to CQ how comfortable he feels. Like maybe we could do it right at his house because he has a whole big studio downstairs in his basement. Like with mini mics and everything. He does the Friday night show, the tabletop gaming, and that works great. But again, that's his house. I gotta get his permission, obviously, to do a family reunion there.
Right.
So
yeah, I would
anyway,
definitely look forward.
we get
to
out of here.
Definitely
You
look
guys
forward
close out. All right.
All right. Appreciate you as always. Appreciate the platform. Again, certainly for those who came in tonight, make sure you hit the like button. Certainly as you leave the spot tonight. If you're not a subscriber to the network, consider being a subscriber. Again, we're very close to being monetized. And so we just need a few more and to cross that threshold. And we just want to continue to put out great content throughout the week. So again, continue to follow the Sparta HQ network. So again, we got a hangout show on Saturday. And certainly I forget what the topic is for Saturday though, so excuse me on that. But for Sunday on the gray area, we're going to be talking about the topic of, again, is it selfish if sometimes you have to put your career first over your family and your kids? Is it selfish when you do that? So again, we're going to talk about that certainly in the gray area Sundays 9:30, simulcasting not only Sparta HQ network but also on the Black Men Unfiltered network. So make sure you follow us there. But with that, Coach, any final words before we close out?
No, brother, man, great show, man, great topics.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I really did. So make sure everybody share this content with somebody who could use it. Someone might be going through some things or whatever, or trying to find happiness in their life or whatnot. Share the live. And again, two bald opinions, just giving their 2 cents on these issues, and we're working towards that being the title of the show. But Pete doesn't know that yet. We're gonna work on that title. But for everyone else, enjoy. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. God bless. Enjoy your holiday. We'll see you next time. Good night.